So, as you may already know, in Godot 4.4, we had this new game tab implemented. And you may also know a little bit about how it exactly works, or you may even know nothing really about that new feature. So in this video, the idea is that we go from the very basics of this feature to the more advanced stuff into modifying and taking advantage of this feature in an actual game built with the Godot engine, as you can see. It is still a pretty simple game, it's not like a super huge project, but it's still something completely playable, which coins that you can collect, decorations, obstacles, a player moving around, etc., which is more than enough to demonstrate the true power of the game tab. So first of all, let's start with the most basics. Now, whenever you press the Run Project button in any Godot project, you will have like this new section over here with lots of buttons. The first button is to directly suspend or pause the game execution. So let me actually play the game so that we can see this better. So there you can see the game is completely paused. While it's paused, for example, you can move frame by frame, okay? Which, for example, here you can see with the car that is slightly moving more and more, or even the particles. So as it is frame by frame, of course it is quite complicated to actually note the difference, but there it is. Or if not, let me try to zoom in here a little bit for you to see it. But yes, there I think that is quite easy to see what is going on, and you can only go to the next frame if the game is paused. As you can see, if the game is not paused, I cannot press on the next frame button. Now also we have here, let me pause the game again, we have another section for allow the game input 2D and 3D mode. So the input mode is a default option. This allows the game input, so not only does this allow the game input itself, but if you select now the 2D and control mode, which is this one, that's why the icon itself has a combination of blue and green. And remember, blue nodes are the ones that are 2D and the green nodes are the ones that are control nodes. So with this, what you can do is to click on any of these nodes and you will be able to select them, as you can see here in the inspector. Right now here, as you can see, I have selected a color rect. This is because of the scene transitions, but here connected to this, what you can do is to select this one, okay, and what you'll see is that whenever you click in any place, you get a collection of the nodes that you can select, okay, because you have pressed in a certain place. So for example, in this place I have a black color rect, a coins, collision shape, player, animated sprite, etc. So let's select the player, for example, and now here I have the player, and I have some constants that the player itself has, okay. So here, well, we have explained two settings or two options in just one. The 2D mode, which allows you to do is to select 2D nodes and control nodes to see their properties in the inspector and modify any of them. So from here we have the player selected. This is the character body, as you can see. So here we'll be able to modify any of the properties of this character body. So for example, I believe that if we change the scale over here to 2, for example, well, now the character is much bigger. Then we will actually see, once we understand these basics, how we can take advantage of this, because right now, for example, making the player here bigger may not provide us like a significant advantage. Now in 3D it will be the same thing, but for 3D nodes, here the game is completely 2D, so there are no 3D nodes. But if you had a 3D game, you would be able to select any kind of 3D node. It's the exact same logic. And also, for example, to select a control node, here I have some text which is inside of a label node, so I can click and I see here score label, okay. And as you can see here it says 3, and I could put here 34, for example. That's an example. This value, by the way, is going to be overridden once I resume the game and I collect a coin, or not when I collect the coin, but if I restart the game or whatever. But anyway, and then, well, the next options are for selecting the different nodes. The default option is just select mode, which will just select the first node that it encounters. Once again, here in this exact example, it may be a little complicated to understand this option, because what we have here, because of the scene transitions logic, is that we have some, as you can see, color regs that are changing the color itself. Check here how, if there is a scene transition, how this color changes to fade in and fade out. There you were able to actually see it. So that's why sometimes this mode is not enough. So if we change to this other mode, sorry, whenever we click in any place, okay, or well, in some kind of node that we can select, what we will see if we go to 2D mode in this case, is that we see a list of things. In this case, I have a coins node, which is basically this control node over here that handles the coins themselves. And I could grab, I know, the coin icon, okay, and I could, I know, do whatever I want. Let's just scale it in, for example, okay, and here we have it. So it's basically for that. If you click here on the player, which has multiple things, the player can have like its own roots node, as we have seen the character body. It can also have the collision shape, the animated sprite. In this case, there is also the trail. So there are lots of things that you can select with this mode. And with this one, you can override the in-game camera, but I believe that this only works in the 3D environment, because what this allows you to do is to indeed override the default camera. By the way, here there is no camera, so that's also why we can't. But basically, if you, as far as I have tested, if you select this option and you press WASD or the arrow keys, I believe, you will be able to move around the 3D world, okay? But once again, here we are not able to do it. Then we'll switch to a 3D project to just see these options once again. Sorry, to see these options, yes, again in a 3D project, and to actually see how they work. So for example, here this is a Kenny game template, okay? So let's run this project. In this case, well, the game was embedded. This is an option that we have not seen yet, but anyway. So if we go to 3D, and let me enable this option, and here the player, well, has like more parts. So I know, let's select the torso itself. Here we have the torso, which is like mostly like the face. So I know we could do just, we could make, I don't know, the face bigger itself. Well, in this case, it's making everything bigger. I thought that because of this bounding box, it was just the head, but it wasn't. And for the camera, we can select it, okay? And we should now be able to move around, but it is not happening, unfortunately. Okay, there it is, with the right click mouse button, and right there with WAS and D, you can just move around, okay, and maybe see some stuff that you wouldn't be able to see without this option. Now you can disable this option and you will go back to the game camera itself, okay? So there we would have it. And by the way, for this you must be on 3D mode, okay, and you must be right clicking at the same time, because if not, this won't work. If you are on input mode, you will directly, in this case, for example, move the player around, okay? And you also have some extra options to, for example, reset the 3D camera to where it used to be. Now let's continue seeing some of the advantages that we have. So we have seen the most important ones. Then we have these ones that basically have to do with how the game stretches. So let me, for example, make this window slightly bigger. So with this default option, this doesn't fill in the available space. As you can see, it always keeps the same space. But with this one, it is expanded, okay? And this one, okay, expands it, okay? But it keeps the aspect ratio, whereas this one directly stretches the game window. Here what happens is that I have keep aspect selected, so I have these black bars, but I believe, okay, some of these options are not really like documented anywhere, so it's more trial and error as far as I know. But if I set this to be, for example, expand, what would happen that if I selected these options, so for example, let's start with this by making this much bigger. There you are able to start to see the differences. So with this one, you lock the aspect ratio and the game window and the resolution, basically everything. But then with this one, you actually keep the aspect ratio, okay? So it is not being expanded actually. So we have these kind of bars here, which would be, I believe, the equivalent to selecting keep in the project settings, okay? But in this one, if you select to stretch to fit the workspace, if you have expand, it is going to exactly do that. So now the game probably will work, because yes, it is not meant to use expand in this case, but there you have those different options, okay? Now we'll see these options, but firstly, let me go back and select keep, okay? Because that is how the game is meant to be set up. And what you can see over here is the last two options. So you can either embed the game or you can make it floating. I personally prefer much more to have it embedded. So for this, you disable floating in this case. It's quite weird also here the UI, because you can only select one of them at the same time, and that's completely valid. But the two checkboxes do not really make it intuitive for the user, I believe. But anyway, let's disable making the window floating, and when we play again, it is going to be embedded right here. Why I believe that this mode is much better, because you don't have two windows at the same time, so I think that is better for organization in general. And also that, for example, if you go to 2D mode and select this text, okay, and actually let me go here, and title label. So as you have seen previously with the window floating, well, the window was being minimized and showing over and over again, but here as it is embedded, we don't have that problem. I can modify anything here and I can continue playing as normally. So that's why I prefer much more this option, and also the general user interface for me looks much better. I prefer to have it like this rather than have a window floating around, but once again, this is just a personal preference. And now we go to the last part of the video, which is the quickest and easiest to understand, because we're going to be putting into practice everything that we have learned throughout this video. So how exactly can we take advantage of this? The thing is that you can take any of the elements of the game and do testing with them and try out different values. So this can be super useful to, for example, I don't know, position a camera somewhere, modify the rotation, the zoom of that camera, the behavior itself, etc. But we're not going to do that. Another pretty interesting usage is to modify different values, different properties of the inspector, as we have seen, of different things, of different nodes, and basically seeing how they look, how they behave in the real game. And lastly, we can also change variables during runtime. So in this case, the player itself, okay, has defined their jump velocity and an extra speed as constants. So if we were to play the game and we were to select the player, so, and I wanted to modify the constant of jump velocity, for example, I will not be able to do it because I wanted to set the value of a constant, and a constant is exactly that, it's a constant value, you can modify it. So let me just change it to a variable. Let me press play over here. Let me select the player. And let me pause the game. Well, probably I'm going to die right now unless I go to the collision shape, which, by the way, you don't really have to go again to here, and collision shape. You can go to remote player, that you can see is deselected. I can go to collision shape. Okay, or actually we'll go to this vehicle collision shape. So I can go to vehicles container, vehicle, and I can directly grab here the collision shape and disable this collision shape. And now when I resume the game, I should literally trespass this car. So let's also try this out, so you can kind of start to see some of the advantages. Okay, that was just one example. Now I can go to a player, and once again, here I now have, or should have, here the members. So here I have, for example, jump velocity, extra speed. So let's change jump velocity to something like super big, like 9,000 instead of 900. So now when I resume the game, input, oh, I wasn't fast enough. So let's try this again. So I believe that first of all, I will have to select the player again. Player, jump velocity, 900, sorry, minus 9,000. So now the player should like jump a lot. There you can see it even like exited the screen, but because of how the code is executed, well, that is the behavior that we have. But you can start to see that I could lower it much more. I know, minus like that, okay, for example, and I can try out different values as I am playing. Okay, so that is something that we can kind of start to see. So that's of course quite interesting. You can also, as I was mentioning, oh, I don't know if my player is big or small enough. So in this case, I paused the whole game execution, but I didn't want to do that. So let's resume it with this button and pause it again. I will select here the player. Let's say, okay, I don't know if my player is small or big enough, and I want to try out different values. So you can select it, go to the scale, and I don't know, let's try 1.5. Oh, I believe it's a little too big maybe there, so 1.25. And I can resume it and continue playing, okay, and say, oh, I like these values, I don't like them. Probably you won't like these values, but anyway, you can start to see that you can modify values and see how they look, or how they behave, how they feel at runtime. That is basically the biggest advantage. And once that you understand these fundamentals, once that you understand these concepts, you can apply this to mostly anything that you may think of. and also you can come across with more ways of taking advantage of this. And if you are curious about how to create the game that I showed you a second ago, I have my own Godot course with, as you can see, over 30 students, 6 ratings, and on average it has 4.8 ratings, so it's an amazing course, validated. The default price is $45, but if you use the link in the description down below, you're going to be getting a 70% discount, so it's going to be at something like $12. So enroll right now and I will see you there.